This is NKT 314, Business to Business Marketing. I'll be taking you through study section 3, Distribution of Products and Services to Industry. When you have studied this section, you should be able to explain channels of distribution. You should be able to discuss functions of distribution channels. You should be able to explain the types of marketing channels. Channel distribution. The term channel distribution is used to refer to the various intermediaries who help in moving products from the producer to the consumer. There are a variety of middlemen and merchants who act as intermediaries between producers and consumers. Stallone, the other time, defines channels of distribution for a product as the route taken to get the ultimate consumer or individual industrial user. A channel always includes both the producer and the final consumer for the product, as well as all middlemen involved in the title transfer. Even though agents, middlemen, do not take actual title to the goods, they are included as part of a distribution channel. This is because they play such an active role in the transfer of ownership. Let's now define channel distribution. Channel of distribution can be defined as a system put in place to move goods and services from producers to consumers, made up of people and organizations, supported by various facilities, equipment, and information. However, Armstrong and Kotler, 1994, submit that distribution channel is a set of interdependent organizations involved in the process of making a product or service available for use or consumption by the consumer or industrial user. Therefore, we can define channel of distribution according to Armstrong or according to the first definition given. What are the functions of distribution channels? The function of distribution channels are information, promotion, contact, matching, negotiation, physical distribution, financing, and lastly, risk taking. But we are going to discuss these functions one after the other. Let's first of all discuss that of information. It means gathering and distributing marketing research and intelligence information about actors and forces in the marketing environment needed for planning and aiding exchange. Promotion, however, means developing and spreading persuasive communication about an offer. Contact means finding and communicating with prospective buyers. And matching means shaping and fitting the offer to the buyer's needs, including such activities as manufacturing, grading, assembling, and packaging. Negotiation means reaching an agreement on price and other terms of the offer so that ownership and possession can be transferred. Physical distribution means transferring and storing goods, while financing means acquiring and using funds to cover the cost of the channel work. Risk-taking means assuming the risk of carrying out the channel work. Let's move on as we discuss channel for consumer goods. But before we talk about channel for consumer goods, let's talk about marketing channels. Marketing channels can be described by the number of channels level involved. Each layer of middlemen that performs some work brings the product and its ownership closer to the final buyer is a channel level. Since the producer and the final consumer both perform the same work, they are part of every channel. We use the number of intermediary levels to indicate the length of a channel. Now, all of the institutions in the channel are connected by several types of flows. This includes the physical flow of products, the flow of ownership, the payment flow, the information flow, and the promotion flow. Now, let's now take a look at two types of marketing channels for consumer goods and channels for industrial goods. But first of all, let's talk about consumer goods. If you look at the slide, the figure on the slide, you discover there is a link linking the producer to the consumer. Producer to consumers. When there are no intermediaries between the producer and the consumer, the channel is said to be direct. This type of channel is most commonly used with organizational products, but it is also used by a few well-known consumer product companies. Let's talk about that which are linked from the producer to the retailer and to the consumer. The channel from producer to retailer to consumer is common when the retail establishment involved are relatively large. What about the one from the producer to the whole channel, to the retailer, and to the consumer? What about that channel? Okay, this is the most common channel for consumer goods. It employs a wholesaler to take care of the shipping and transportation needs. Wholesalers offer the accumulating and allocating functions that allow small producers to interact with large retailers and vice versa. Let's talk about the fourth one, which is from the producer to the wholesaler, to the jobber, to the retailer, and to the last consumer. Producer chooses to use agent, which is also known as jobbers, to assist wholesalers in marketing its good. The use of jobbers can be attributed to their specialized experiences. Let's move on. Let's talk about channel for distribution for industrial products. Channel for industrial product. As you can see, the channel linking the manufacturer to that of the industrial consumer. Manufacturer to industrial consumer or buyer. From the slide you can see, manufacturers use direct marketing to distribute their product to industrial users. This is mostly associated with complex products that require a good deal of pre-sale and post-sale support. It should be noted that post-sale support are often best handled through a direct channel. This is because the manufacturer may be the only entity with sufficient expertise to help customers, because this large account generates enough business to support the sales effort involved, and because large customers have a habit of going through their economic weights to demand for personalized service. What about the second one? Manufacturer to industrial, distributor to industrial customer. This is the most used channel for industrial product. Distributors take title to the goods and specializes on different lines of goods. Some disadvantages associated with this channel is that distributors will want to access to large accounts that the manufacturer may try to keep for itself. Distributors try to keep their product selection wide, which frequently means carrying competing lines. Sometimes distributors do not always respond to manufacturers' advice regarding promotions and pricing and operational policies. Let's talk about a third one, which is channels, which is from the manufacturer to manufacturer representative to industrial consumer. This channel of distribution for industrial goods is mostly adopted by manufacturers wishing to maintain control over their product. It also applies to those goods that are sold across countries. Other factors include cultural factors and government policies, and so on and so forth. The fourth channel of distribution is adopted by manufacturers who wish to have control of marketing activities to their products. However, some titles to the goods are given to industrial distributors who sell to industrial customers. Let's talk about selecting appropriate channel. The following factors usually govern the selection of channels. The first one is the type of product. The second one is the nature and extent of market. The third one is competitive characteristics, and while the last one is cost involved in distribution. Let's talk about the type of product. For perishable products like bread and milk or vegetable, it is important to have a channel of distribution which facilitates quick movement from factory to the consumers. Limited channels may also be employed where the movement of goods involves heavy freight and poses problems for transportation. For instance, as in selling furniture, refrigerators, air conditioners, and so on and so forth. However, distribution of products having lower units and high turnover involves large number of middlemen, as in the case of products matchsticks, soap, and toothpaste, and so on. When the product requires after-sales service, as in the case of television, air conditioners, automobiles, the choice of middlemen may be limited to only those who are in a position to provide this service. Since not many middlemen may be capable of providing such service, again, their number may be limited. What about nature and extent of the market? If the number of consumers are small as with the case of bulky and expensive machinery, the manufacturer may approach the customer directly through a sales force. So also, if the consumer are concentrated in a limited geographical area, if the above conditions are not applicable, a longer choice of middlemen may have to be employed. However, for industrial goods, where such goods are bulky, manufacturers may adopt direct selling or marketing competitive characteristics. It is a wise policy to study the existing channels of distribution, particularly those used by competitors. Design of channel is influenced by channels of competitors. Producers may want to compete in or near the same outlets carrying the competition channels. However, where an established channel exists, the manufacturer may make use of customary channels. For example, for soaps and toothpaste, grocery stores are commonly used. Cost involved in distribution, which is the last factor we are going to discuss. Cost of no doubt is a very important consideration. The longer the channel of distribution, the greater its cost. Manufacturers look for ways to keep down cost and prefer distribution through middlemen who have established sales force, as it is more economical and involves less financial commitment. Wholesalers shoulder some of the responsibilities of cost of stocking and transporting goods, but the manufacturer has to allow them a margin which will either reduce profit or increase the cost to the buyer. However, in making a choice, the manufacturer has to consider its objectives, resources, and the channels available after considering the above factors. It will like to use the channel of distribution which will produce the combination of sales volume and cost that yields the maximum amount of profit. There are no set guidelines for channel selection, and manufacturers will have to make their own decision in the light of their own judgment and experiences. Thus far, we have gone about this study section. I hope you are going to continue to learn in other subsequent study sections. Thanks for listening.